I'm 35 years old, have been married for 10 years. And we have 2 young children. We live in the city in a condominium that we are paying for in installments. My husband is the only son. And I am the eldest daughter-in-law in the family. Previously, my in-laws had their own house in the city. But after retiring, they decided to move back to their hometown for a more comfortable life. They sold the house for over 4 billion Vietnamese dongs, used part of the money to build a new house in the countryside, and saved the rest. Initially, I thought it was a reasonable decision since they both preferred the peaceful atmosphere and were no longer interested in the bustling city life. Additionally, my relationship with my in-laws wasn't very harmonious, so their move to the countryside made life easier for my husband and me. However, once they settled in, my mother-in-law called us and said, "Now that we no longer have any income and have sold our city home, you and your husband should send us 10 million Vietnamese dongs every month for support. It's the children's responsibility to take care of their parents." I was stunned. My in-laws decided to sell their house. While my husband and I are not financially well off, we are still paying off bank loans, covering our children's education, and dealing with rising living costs. What upset me the most was the way my in-laws presented their request as an obvious obligation without any discussion. Just demands. Moreover, the monthly amount they asked for seemed excessive and unreasonable for 2 elderly people living in the countryside. My husband, who is very filial, said he would send money to his parents and try to take on extra work to support our family. But I think differently. If my in-laws truly had no money, I wouldn't hesitate to help. But they had just sold a house for a significant amount. Why didn't they plan for a sustainable income instead of asking us for monthly support? Some readers have commented, saying that since my husband is willing to try, I should let him handle it. They suggest that if our children face deprivation to support their grandparents, my husband will naturally reconsider. They also mention that since he is their only son, his parents might have supported him financially in the past, and the assets will eventually belong to him. Moreover, they suggest that perhaps my in-laws discussed this with him, and he didn't tell me. Generally, despite being a daughter-in-law, we can sometimes feel like outsiders in the family. So, it's important to focus on taking care of ourselves and the kids. Let your husband and his parents work out their arrangements. If things get challenging, consider showing evidence, like calculations, to demonstrate the financial strain. Explain that your husband will take on more work, and your family will live frugally. If your in-laws remain unmoved and your husband continues to be overly dutiful, you might suggest staying with your parents temporarily to save money, leaving him with a quiet place to rest after work. From what you've shared, it seems your family hasn't financially supported your in-laws before, which might be why their request feels uncomfortable for you. In my opinion, caring for parents is a child's duty. You could talk to your husband about saving a bit to support his parents within your means. Even though my relationship with my mother-in-law isn't perfect, my spouse and I agree to send a small amount to both sets of parents each month. Even though we haven't bought our own home yet, we allocate money for our future home, our children's education, and our parents. After all, we didn't grow up by ourselves. Children should live dutifully with their parents. Just as you have a responsibility to raise your children well, I hope you don't develop negative feelings about money with your in-laws. You should talk to your husband about balancing extra work with health and supporting his parents within your capacity. How can I resolve this situation without causing family tensions? I'd appreciate any advice.